Welcome back. Well, today on ExJW TV, Taking in Knowledge, and this is at Fixing My Faith. That's still our handle, so some of this stuff might be new. You see that we show up a little different now. But on ExJW TV, today's topic is exposed in New Zealand. And to start the topic out, we're going to take a look at a scripture from Daniel chapter 5. And we're going to go all the way down to verse 27. And verse 27 says, "Tekel, you have been weighed in the balances and found wanting." So JW.org, Watchtower, you have been weighed in the balances and found wanting by New Zealand and by the court system and by the whole world. We're going to take a quick look at that today. Now, if you remember that scripture, it has to do with Daniel's he interprets the handwriting on the wall. This has to do with the handwriting on the wall. King Belshazzar made a great feast for thousands of his lords and drank wine in front of the house, in front of the thousands. So here we have the governing body, JW.org, drinking wine. They made this big feast for thousands of people at the 2024 convention. This is their Jesus convention. They threw out a bunch of stuff. They've changed the Bible. They've changed lots of stuff in the Bible. They've demonized the Magi in that assembly. So here Belshazzar did the same thing. He did a similar thing. He went in to his father's house, Nebuchadnezzar, his father, and they brought out all the golden utensils from Jerusalem, and they brought them out. And him and the kings, his lords, his wives, his concubines, they all drank from them. They drank wine. But who did they give praise to? They gave praise to gods of gold, silver, bronze, iron, wood, and stone. Well, at this assembly, 2024 convention, who are they giving praise to? They're giving praise to the governing body. They call him the faithful slave. So all the way through jw.org, you'll see all over the website, there is a lot of praise going to the governing body. They're even calling them kings, future kings. And Gary Bro says statements like they will never lie. So they're putting these guys on high. They have idolized these guys, just like, and they're giving their gold and silver to this idol, these 9 men. So what happened in Belshazzar's temple? Well, immediately a finger of a human hand appeared and wrote on the plaster wall in the king's palace, and it wrote those words. So what were the words? The words were Mene, Tekel, and Parsin. And then Daniel was called in eventually to interpret this. He said, Mene says, God has numbered the days of your kingdom and brought it to an end. And Tekel, you have been weighed in the balances and found wanting. And Perez, your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. So this is what that inscription says. Can we draw a parallel account to JW.org? Yes, we can. And that's what we're going to look at next. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the Abuse in Care, Jehovah's Witnesses Case Study 29. And they have fought to keep this from not happening. This goes back, this is 5 years. Well, Jehovah's Witnesses have been active in New Zealand for over 100 years, and the movement was growing significantly just prior to this inquiry period. So they looked at all of this. So Jehovah's Witnesses have been suing New Zealand's courts since this has started, and they said, we're not part of the study, we don't care for children. The court says, nonsense, you guys do. And then they sued back, and they said, we don't want to be part of the inquiry. They says, you are. They lost. And then they sue now. We're going to take a look at the latest lawsuit. Jehovah's Witnesses right here. And I'm going to just blow it up. There it is. So this is the Court of Appeal of New Zealand. This is just recent. July 24th. And in the Court of Appeal of New Zealand, it's between the Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses and the Royal Commission of Inquiry. This is what this is. I know I gotta just reach in. I can't blow this one up, so hopefully you can see it. The application for interim relief is denied. So the judgment of the court, they denied it. The application must pay the costs in the second respondent for the standard application on the B basis. So, yeah, they're paying for all the costs of all of this. It says the court delivered a judgment on the 24th of April 2024 dismissing the appellant's appeal, Watchtower's appeal. And the Watchtower has applied for leave to appeal the Supreme Court. That application is yet to be determined. In the meantime, the Royal Commission of Inquiry into Historical Abuse in the State Care and the Care of the Faith-Based Institutions, the Royal Commission, has completed its inquiries, and the report is scheduled to be tabled at the House of Representatives tomorrow. Tomorrow? Yeah. Okay, so it's like Watchtower did this last minute to catch everyone with their pants down. That's kind of their act. That's what they do in court. So it says the part of the final report is it referred to the case study in ExJWs. They didn't want it to be published on the Commission's website as it's contemplated in the Commission's term, and they wanted it kept confidential and not otherwise published until their appeal, because they're in Supreme Court right now. They want that decided first. So basically they're coming into this court saying, no, you guys got to stop everything. We're in Supreme Court on all of this stuff, and we want it all shut down. So the application was filed in the court last Friday. It was a last minute thing. Submissions were filed in accordance with the timetable set by the court. The application was made under the Supreme Court rule. Let's go further. And they say we do not outline the relevant circumstances which are set out earlier judgment. No affidavit evidence was filed by the Watchtower in support of the application. So we nevertheless accept that the appellant, the Watchtower, has a position to preserve. So that's what's happening. The court realizes that the Watchtower is hiding. They have a position to preserve. Having said that, we do not understand there to be a dispute that the Royal Commission received evidence of abuse engaged in by members of the Jehovah's Witness faith. And the Watchtower, the appellant's argument is that in this proceeding has been limited to the arguing that the Royal Commission does not have jurisdiction to investigate and report on that abuse because it did not take place in the relevant care setting. But we nevertheless accept that the proposed order can be seen as necessary to preserve the appellant's position. Notwithstanding that conclusion, however, there are factors that mean that the interim relief would not be appropriate in this case. So this is just Watchtower arguing their case. First, the appellants, the Watchtower's prospects of the success must be regarded as low. And the challenge to the Royal Commission's ability to inquire into its abuse by members of the Jehovah's Witness faith has been dismissed by both the High Court and this court. And to succeed in the Supreme Court, the appellant must first persuade the Supreme Court that leave to appeal should be granted, and then that the lower court erred. So the appellant's appeal would need to succeed on both the claims that it had advanced. First, that the Royal Commission's inquiries in the relation to Jehovah's Witnesses were outside the terms formulated, and secondly, that the amendments of the terms to remove any doubts about the question was unlawful should be set aside. So the court kind of put them in their place. They go on to finalize this, and that's the end of that. So Watchtower lost all the way through. They're losing in court all the way through. And now this is all public. We have it right here, the Jehovah's Witness case study. I'm going to change my screen here. Okay, so now that Jehovah's Witness is lost, this is all over the internet, all over the world. This is being looked at all over the world. This case study is the start of something huge. It's going to open this up. We're going to look at some of the countries that are looking at child abuse and how they're doing it. But this one on Jehovah's Witnesses has really been amplified because Jehovah's Witnesses have been fighting it in court, as if they have something very, very secret to hide and the whole world can't know about it. That's what it's looking like to the whole world. And the deeper the world digs into this religion, the more we understand that it's the more we understand that this has been an ongoing problem for many, many years. To a lot of us that have been in the religion, it's been hidden. So it's been hidden so well that we never knew there were pedophiles as elders, pedophiles that they knew about. They just weren't doing anything about it. They were just hiding it, sweeping it all under the carpet. In fact, all the religions were doing that, and that's why these case studies are so important. Okay, so this I'm just going to read the first sentence out of this Jehovah's Witnesses case study, executive summary. The Jehovah's Witnesses have been active in New Zealand for over 100 years. Like many faiths, their leadership is a hierarchy, with Jehovah's Witnesses being globally led by a governing body. Idol worship. The world recognizes this. Number 3, children and young people were in care of Jehovah's Witnesses during faith activities, including door-to-door preaching, witnessing, pastoral support, work bees and other organized activities, and investigations and judicial committee processes. You know, what about going over the questions for baptism? You're with an elder, 3 different elders, alone. The faith contested whether these situations fell within the inquiry's terms of reference, but the inquiry is satisfied that children and young people were in the care of faith in these situations, for the reasons set out below. There's several factors within the faith that increase the risks of abuse occurring during the inquiry's period. Elders and the power and the influence they exercise, particularly over children, young people. So the faith has high barriers to disclosure of abuse, making it more difficult for individuals to disclose any abuse either to others within the faith or to secular authorities. And these barriers include the inferior position of women within the faith, the rigid disclosure of the processes, the fear of being shunned and relatives being disconnected from us, you know, when you get shunned, all of which likely prevented or delayed victims from disclosing the abuse. And there was also inadequate vetting of the elders and insufficient training in preventing and responding to the abuse. So they nailed it. This inquiry is nailing this, dotting the I's and crossing the T's on this religion. Number 5, the faith's approach to record keeping did not provide an adequate basis for well-informed, risk-based decision-making to ensure the safety of children and young people in the care of the faith. In fact, they went on to ask their congregation elders to destroy handwritten records because it could cost them money legally. Now, number 6, despite the high barriers to disclosure and the faith's inadequate approach to record keeping, the inquiry heard from one person who was sexually abused in the care of the faith during the inquiry period, and with others experiencing psychological and emotional abuse during investigations and judicial committee processes. So despite all of these barriers, this inquiry has been talking to people leaving the Jehovah's Witness religion left and right. Now, number 7, the inquiry concludes that Jehovah's Witnesses took inadequate steps to prevent and respond to abuse and care during the inquiry period. Yeah, they were suing them every day. The policies, the rules, the standards relevant to child sexual abuse more broadly were primarily based on passages from the Bible and located across many different Jehovah's Witness publications. So mostly it's in their watchtower. They'll cherry pick a few Bible passages. Now, processes for handling and responding to the disclosures of abuse of any kind were outdated and ineffective, such as a requirement for 2 witnesses to child abuse. And there was a lack of reporting to the external authorities and inadequate consequences for the abuser within the faith. These factors applied equally to abuse and care. So you see, folks, this here, Australia, all of this has forced JW.org into making New Light, changing their elders book. They call it New Light. That's how they bring everything into the religion. So the world is giving them New Light. It's not Jehovah God. You see, the faithful slave, this governing body, they're not who they claim they are. They're getting the New Light from the court systems, the governments. The people that are coming out and crying out, finally, there's more and more ExJWs that are becoming braver and braver. They're showing their faces on the internet, telling their stories. These things are all important to bring justice. So thank you to everyone out there who has been patiently waiting for these inquiries to finally hit the streets. So here we are. So number 8, Jehovah's Witnesses' approach to this inquiry and to its activities was premised on the basis that no children or young people were ever in its care. We all know that's wrong. That's the biggest lie ever. That's one of the biggest lies they have. And I don't know why they continue to lie like that. It doesn't help them. It really puts them in a bad position. Why not just accept, you know what, yeah, you know, we have field service arrangements and elders are always looking after or caring for other people's children. And you see, the Jehovah's Witness religion is more than most other religions. Most other religions, you go to church on Sunday, you're there with your family, and you leave, and that's the end of the story. But in the Jehovah's Witness religion, they want to control you. And to control you, they want one-on-one time with each member, especially through the baptismal process, through the study arrangement. So they assign an exemplary brother to study with someone through this 2-year period. It's all private. I studied with young people in their bedrooms of their houses. That's where you'd go and study. So this was part of the program for Jehovah's Witnesses to say that we don't care for children is a big fat lie, and I don't know why they do that. So now the ongoing failure of the faith to recognize that children and young people were in its care gives the inquiry concern about the faith's overall approach to safety of children and young people in its care during the inquiry period. You know, they could just come out and say that we're really concerned that this organization, they're big fat liars. People don't say that in inquiries, but that's what they're saying here. Now, if we want to take this a little further, I do have the whole case study. It's 64 pages, if you want to take a look at what it looks like. This is what they were paying money. I'm going to pin this. You might want to look at it. This is why Jehovah's Witnesses went to court to keep this off the street. This is the study they didn't want anybody to see. 64 pages. So it's on the streets. This is what it looks like. And we'll look at the index anyways. It's a big study. Context, there's an executive summary, purpose, context, the role of elders, relevant features of the faith, becoming a Jehovah's Witness. Chapter 3, care provided by Jehovah's Witnesses. Chapter 4, risk factors, allegations of abuse and care. The status of leaders, power, imbalance, elevated levels of influence. This is a good study, folks. We're going to have other videos on this. We might cover it on a live or something, but this is just got onto the streets. I'm just showing it to you. I have a lot of reading to do. And anybody interested in coming on a live, giving their experience, especially if they're from Australia or New Zealand. Chapter 5, Steps by Jehovah's Witnesses to Prevent and Respond the Risk of Abuse and Care. The Jehovah's Witness policies, rules, standards, and practices. I love it. They're covering everything. So, Chapter 6, Summary of Findings. A lot of times I like to go right down to the summary. Let's zip right to the bottom. And let's see if we can get to the bottom. All the way down to see Rusty. Okay, let's see. That's the end. Summary of findings. Here it is. The inquiry finds that during the inquired period, elders in the Jehovah's Witnesses held positions of power and had status authority conferred on them by the faith. Of course, the faith assumes responsibility for the care of children and young people placed in the care of elders, for witnessing activities, pastoral support, care, work bees, other organized activities. I forgot about work bees. You go to the Kingdom Hall before the memorial, and sometimes book studies are assigned to kind of clean the hall this month, and then that book study cleans it next month. That's what we used to do. So, yeah, work bees. Spring work bees clean up. You drop your kids off. They work with a couple of elders. And what about the investigations and the judicial committees, You have to go in. Those are all private meetings with the elders. I know of elders going to do, what do they call it? They'll call on people that haven't attended the meetings for a while. One elder that I know of had an affair with a woman. I don't know if he was a pedophile or not, but these things happen. The faith's assumption of responsibility for those children and young people flowed from its conferral of authority and trusted status on elders, and the action of elders in taking children and young people into their care unsupervised in these contexts. In those situations, children and young people were in the care of the faith. You see, in Jehovah's Witness religion, children are more so on a regular basis in care of other people. Why? Because their demand on their members to go door to door and go out in the field ministry and all these meetings and field ministry meetings throughout the week. Every day of the week there's something going on within these religions. You see, most churches, they're open on Sundays. Bring your family in, listen to the preacher for an hour, and you go home. There's nothing. Sometimes they have functions, but it's not like a Jehovah's Witness religion where it's really high intensity control by the elders. They believe that the elders are actually sitting in the right hand of Jesus, according to the book of Revelation. They believe that the elders are referred to as the 7 stars. They put the elders on a way higher platform in this religion. Now, the study goes on to say that there is credible evidence that sexual abuse occurred in the care of Jehovah's Witness faith. The practice of elders questioning children or young people who were victims of sexual abuse during the investigation, and judicial committee processes when it was an inappropriate and emotionally or psychologically abusive. And isn't that the truth for any of us out here on this side of the fence? We know that for a fact. It's abusive. So I'm so happy this is coming out. There were factors that increased the risks of abuse in the care of Jehovah's Witnesses, including the status of leaders, the power of imbalance between them and the members, between the elders. They put them on high. They're just people. In many cases, these are very uneducated people. Some are just run window cleaning businesses, but they're deciding on your health care, whether you're going to live or die. They're deciding that if you shouldn't take a medical procedure that takes blood. They're going to put you in the corner, scold you, perhaps shun you, mark you for sure. Now, the barriers to the disclosure of abuse, including the place of females in the faith, the fear of exclusion, and the relative disconnection from the secular world. Huge, and I'm so happy that's coming out. The lack of vetting and training of elders in child protection and abuse prevention. These elders are not qualified to do any of this. They're not qualified to be legal aids, judges. They decide on civil matters, and they judge all wrong. There's no recourse for the defendant. So this religion is getting looked at. It's into its members' lives, intertwined. These elders control all of its members. So I see what's happening now. They're losing control. That's what's happening now. That's why it's the religion's falling apart. Now, the full extent of the abuse in the care of faith cannot be quantified for reasons including inadequate record keeping and the barriers to disclosure. So the elders are told, right in the elders book, we covered this on Monday, this last Monday, they're told to be silent. If they're questioned in court or anywhere, they're told to stay silent. So how do you get information? You get these guys in court, how do you get information out of them if they just keep their mouths shut and they're told to be silent? It's hard. So they're getting charged or suppositions, depositions, and I know in the Montana case, Gary Burrow and Schuster, they got charged $22,000. Well, the Watchtower did, because the Watchtower forced them to keep their mouths shut. So steps taken by the faith to prevent and respond to abuse in the care were inadequate. In particular, there was inadequate vetting and training of the elders in child protection care and abuse. Inadequate. The policies, rules, standards relevant to child sex abuse were from various separate directives from the governing body across many different issues of different publications, all based primarily on, and I'm going to say this, they say passages from the scriptures. Their Bible is not a real Bible. They've modified it. So loosely, passages from the scriptures, loosely. Now, and cherry-picked, and they don't read the whole context. They don't find, okay, well, this says here, this says that. We cover that on a lot of our ExJW channels. Okay, number 3, the last one. Processes for raising, handling, and responding to concerns or complaints of abuse and care were inadequate. Okay, so Watchtower failed. That's where we're at. Handwriting is on the wall for the Watchtower. Yeah, they've been tried and they're wanting. They don't meet up, they're wanting. They are using the utensils of God to care for children, and they have been tried. They have lied in court. They have kept silent in court. They have told their elders to destroy handwritten records. The whole world knows that this religion is tried, and now they're wanting. What are they wanting? Well, they're wanting more money to go to court and pay all these legal bills. So now that this is happening, what they're wanting, they're going to need a lot of money, because now that this has come out, all this abuses have come out, everyone's going to have an entitlement of so much. And that's how it's going to be for Watchtower. I heard that it could be up around $850,000 per case. Up around there, close to $1 million. So you start adding that up. We have 1,000 cases in Australia, 1,000 millions. What is that, $1 trillion? We get into some big numbers. And it becomes kingdom halls are not selling for that kind of money. The abuse far outweighs the amount of kingdom halls and property they have to sell. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the near future. But JW.org, they are exposed. They have been found wanting, just like the king of Babylon. And they have been using God's utensils in a very, very wrong way. So all of us ex-members that get out and we start analyzing the Bible, the real Bible, we find out there's so many changes in the JW.org Bible. It's not even a real Bible anymore. Well, thanks again, folks, and that brings an end to this little broadcast. As you can see, we're still in the sea can. It's day 24. It rained out last night. A little cool. We're going to be on the road here tomorrow morning. We're going to be leaving at 5 in the morning. We got all our camera equipment picked up. We tested it all, charged it all up. Real nice equipment. In fact, the microphones that we're using, we're going to talk about that more on our next, when we do our next protest. They're made in Australia. Really good wireless equipment. And I've known that for a lot of years. So Australia, they are leaders when it comes to technology and other things. So certainly when it comes to investigating Jehovah's Witnesses, they have done a snap-on job, and we want to thank everyone in Australia. So, folks, until the next video, you know the thing. Keep living your life would love. Bye for now. Ode to the Watchtower. Oh, how you suck. Your wicked ways have thine self fire trucked. You've hurt so many people in so many ways. People are lining up just to see you pay. You have wrecked so many lives, and that is the truth. I see it in my comments, and there is so much proof. I really hope to help as many as I can to recover from your lies and make an escape plan.